Welcome back to KB Spice YouTube channel. And today we're going to be talking about the first question we get by a lot of new customers, new clients. What is CMOS?
That was one of my first questions too. I wondered what it was. When I thought about it, I just thought about seaweed that, when you go to the beach, because I'm from the coast. I'm in Mobile, Alabama. I know y'all think country and farms, but we got beaches here too.
Yeah, you do.
I used to go to the beach all the time. And I still go to the beaches a lot now too. I'm still in a similar area. But when I used to go as a child, I would go to, one of our more lame beaches. I won't call the name, but I used to go there as a little closer, a little quicker. So if you didn't want to go to the nice white sand beaches, you go over to these other little, not as good beaches. And I would go in the water and I would have all this stuff get around my legs and, and feel like little creatures. And I mean, it was like seaweed, right? So is that what sea moss is?
So sea moss, we like to describe it as a sea vegetable. It has a similar texture to seaweed or algae, similar properties, similar functions, but it's a sea vegetable that you find along coastlines, or as in the case of Grenada, you find it a lot in the ocean, in the coral reefs in the ocean, or the coral rocks in the ocean. So mostly off of the coral reefs. So that's what sea moss is. So it's similar in properties to the seaweed. And when it's hydrated, so when what we sell is a raw, dried sea moss, they harvest it, they dry it in the sun naturally, and they ship it off. And when we ship it to our customers, you get the dry sea moss. And in order to prepare it, which we'll get into in another video, you have to rehydrate it. And that you could take a little piece, just a little piece of the dry sea moss. And when it rehydrates, it swells up. And then you have that soft, smooth texture that you didn't like feeling when you went to the beach and you had that seaweed feeling on you. So basically, sea moss is a type of seaweed, is a type of sea vegetable, is a plant that you find growing off coral reefs. And it's the attachment onto these coral reefs is where the minerals, all the 92 of the 100 of minerals come from.
Okay. So when I used to go in the beach and it would get around my legs, could it have been any sea moss up in there?
No, that's just that's just regular wild seaweed. You find it out in ocean, in deeper waters than that. So
okay.
Mm-hmm. In parts of Grenada, what's interesting was our farmers when they started, our particular farmer, give credit to Dwayne Harvey and Jafia Harvey. That's who our suppliers are. But like I said, we've always had sea moss. The fishermen will go diving for fish, for lobster, for that, and they will dive. Some specifically just do for sea moss, and they will dive for the sea moss and get it, and then dry it, process it, and sell it, and we use it. And what's interesting, once it started gaining popularity, obviously it's in demand, right? But what's an interesting sustainable technique that has been used in Grenada and a lot of the other islands back in 2004. So the Caribbean islands, they get a lot of hurricanes, from June to September, or September to June, the other way around. You have a lot of hurricanes.
Too.
Yeah. So back
proximity.
Right. And then when you have hurricanes, that constant bashing, it tears up the reef. It damages the reefs. It damages the mangroves, which protects the coast, which protects the mainland. And back in 2004, we had Hurricane Ivan. That was pretty. That was a really bad one.
Hurricane Ivan. It was pretty bad here in the States too.
Right. So Ivan came before Katrina.
Right.
Those two were like they were in a big fight. like a
Those
big
were the
mouse.
best years right there.
Right. So in 2004, Hurricane Ivan was one of the hurricanes that Grenada got hit by, lots of damage, and damage on the mainland, damage to a lot of the nutmeg trees. So that's when, back prior to that, agriculture was our main, one of highest source of income or for the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, because Grenada used to be and we're getting back to there, but we were known for spices, and particularly the nutmegs.
Right.
And we were
Right.
like ranked number 1, number 2 to Indonesia. I know we're talking about Sivas, but just give you a little
Right.
bit.
Right,
But
right.
nutmeg trees was damaged. Farmers lost a lot. There was a lot of devastation on the island. And one of that was damage to the reefs. And when the coral reef is what helped to maintain ocean life. And so when that damage happened, a lot of the coral reef were damaged. So the fish, the ocean life, it diminished in certain parts of the island. And so one of the things.
Let me ask you this real quick before you continue. When you say that the coral reef is what I guess provides the life for the fish and everything, when it gets damaged, what is actually happening?
Well, when it's damaged, that's a good question. It's think about a rock. It's split. It's cracked. It's not. Plants or the ocean plants are destroyed, like the sea moss, and so it exposes it to
the environment.
Well, not just the environment is once you have a break in a food web or food chain, it affects stuff. So it's almost like it's depleted now because it was bombarded with stuff. It's torn up, sort of.
Got you.
Think about a farm. Think about an actual farm bed. Like you have a hurricane and it's waterlogged or it's damaged. Apply that to what happened to the coral reef. So that's a good question. And so obviously, if the plants are the ocean life, the ocean plants, the vegetables like the sea vegetable like the sea moss is damaged, what is that's damaging the food chain or the food source for the lobster, the crabs, the ocean life, certain fish population is affected.
Got you.
And that's what happened in some parts of Grenada after Hurricane Ivan. And so, the island worked with farmers and fishermen. They were trying to find sustainable solutions, not to put it, and harvesting sea moss actually helped with that. So back in 2004, after that, you find a lot of the fishermen who died for the sea moss, they got into sea moss farming. Okay. And what's interesting, when we get ours grow off of one of the coral reef, where back then a lot of the fish life had diminished. And that's where our farmers, they grow the sea moss. So they grow it off of this coral reef. And over time, and the thing about with the sea moss, once it latches on, it grows really quickly. So over time, they were able just recently, they were telling us in the conversation that they were all excited because they could see the lobster coming back. They see the different fish life coming back.
The creatures coming back. Okay.
Exactly. Okay. And so the sea moss provides food for the wildlife, and they protect it. So off of that particular coral reef. So now the coral reef has, over the years has been rebuilding and able to maintain and sustain the ocean life there. So I thought that was very interesting when our sea moss farmers who provide us the sea moss for KB Spice brought that to our attention.
Right. It was very beneficial for our customers and our audience to hear about how all of that got started.
Right. And so I know you and I was having a discussion too. And when we were doing like our studies, we also noticed that sea moss is interesting because it comes from, scientifically, it has different genus, different varieties of sea moss.
Right.
Our KB Spice sea moss is a mix of the purple and gold variety. So when you get it, you see a little bit of purple and red, but mostly gold mix in there. And it just happened, the species happened naturally. They didn't do it like that. And recently, the farmers was telling me that they found some green ones. So hopefully if there is interest from our customers with the green and just the red ones, maybe we can supply that. But our sea moss right now is a mix of the gold and the red and purple variety.
And make sure that people know that, you know, some of these people out here selling fake sea moss or, you know, not, you know, organic sea moss, they be dying.
Well, I think the fake sea moss versus the real sea moss, we could address that in another video, because yes, there are fake sea moss and you can tell the difference. There are persons or farmers who they kind of like, you know, like catfish, where you have farm raised catfish and the natural kind. Well, they do that with sea moss too. Typically, when you're looking for it, you want to make sure it's not farm raised. And you could tell the difference. First of all, it would be way cheaper because it doesn't take a lot to produce it. So they produce it in a farm, meaning they produce it in a pool or a pond, and they add regular table salt or regular salt. It's not natural ocean water. It's not growing off of a rock. So you're not really nutrients. They grow it off of that. And so, you know, you could tell the salt particles are huge. So when you look at it,
not like it's from the ocean.
When you look at it, it's normally not very dry. The salt particles are huge. I went to a store a couple months ago and I saw it. It was like $2 for the packet. And I was like,
don't get that, y'all.
Right. No. And so you have to
preferably get it from KB Spice, but if you get it from anybody else, don't get that.
Yeah, so it probably wouldn't have any nutrients in it. And a lot of people don't know because they just know that, okay, sea moss is a trend, it's supposed to be good for you. And they get the ones where it's limited. Now, don't get me wrong, sea moss is going to have some salt on it because when they bring it from the ocean and it dries off, like I always explain to you, you know, when you spend a day at the beach and you lay in the sun, when that water evaporates, you have like a white sort of specks on you, really fine grain, and that's the salt. But when you taste it, you can tell the difference. It doesn't taste like table salt. So when
it tastes like the ocean. If you know anything about what that tastes like.
Yeah, so when it's natural, the farmers, what they do, our farmers don't use any preservative, any bleaching or anything. They keep the salt on there. They don't wash it off or anything. They keep the salt. The salt helps to preserve the raw sea moss. And so when you get it, it needs to be ocean salt. You can tell it. It's really fine grain crystals, really, really fine grain crystals. And just, you know, you rinse it off. You can tell the difference right away.
Right.
And it's usually really dry. And then you will see like a lot of prongs on there that you could tell it was attached to something. It was attached to something versus the fake one.
Right. Yeah, it looks like little tentacles or something.
Right. So it's attached. That's the tentacles where it was attached to the coral reef. Right.
Okay.
So yeah, and then we always get the question too. What's the difference between sea moss? Some places call sea moss Irish moss. Where you probably go to Jamaica or you go in the international store in the Jamaican section, you may see in a bottle, you may see Irish sea moss. Well, it's pretty much similar, but depending on where it grows, it has that is a different genus, a different variety. So it's interesting. What we know as Chondrus Crispus is what most people refer is a scientific name for most sea moss, but really Chondrus is just one genus. And that mainly is found, and how it got the name Irish moss. That particular species of sea moss is found in colder waters, North Atlantic, around the British Isles, specifically around Ireland. As a matter of fact, it got the name Irish moss because back in the mid 1800s, there was a big potato famine in Ireland, and people were starving. And the
Right.
one thing they decided when they needed sustenance,
Something
they
to
were
eat.
exactly, they were desperate for food. They turned to that particular seaweed that was growing off of the rocks, and they realized that gave them the
Life.
nutrients and life, yeah, the nutrients and life that they needed. So it became known as Irish moss. So that variety is when you read about it scientifically, they found that that variety is the Chondrus Crispus, and you find it in colder waters. And and so that was like 1845 to about 1849 when that farming happened. And so it gained a lot of popularity then. But afterwards, obviously, once the farming was over, people associated that with when they were going through a really bad time. So they were like, forget it. No, we have food. We're going to be eating our food again. So sea moss was associated with poor man's food after that.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So
but
they saw anybody eating that. I guess they would be making fun of them like they do now,
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Well, not now. No, it's gained popularity again. So no, it's sea moss is considered a superfood. No, so now it's gaining popularity again in recent years. It's no longer considered poor man food in Ireland for sure, but
right.
So everybody adding it.
Business.
Right. They using it, they adding it to different stuff. But what's interesting too, historians and archaeologists, they found out that sea moss existed for ages. Like we knew in the Caribbean. I mean, I grew up on it. My mom grew up on it. And when I say grew up, we knew about it because we used it. My grandmother used it. Yeah.
It was just common for you all, right? So
exactly.
That's why when you started talking to me about it, I'm like, what is that? That's like a whole new world over there to me.
Exactly. So we knew about it. So, and historians, as they dug into it, they realized it was dated back way far back as 400 BC is what I read. They estimate, and back then, it was mostly used in the Caribbean and Ireland, and used for its medicinal benefits and for its nutrients. So it's been around a while.
Right.
Been around a while. It's one of those
from the beginning of time, probably.
Right, but and that's so interesting because I didn't even know there was like the Chondrus crispus, and then there is the Euchima genus form, which you find in more tropical waters. So the ones that we get from KB Spice, the ones that we get from the islands is mostly that. And then you will see it interchange between Chondrus and between Euchima cottoni and the Euchima, depending on the color and the location, the Euchima spinosum. So it's just interesting scientifically, but it used interchangeably. And just know that the ones you get from the Caribbean, yes, is the ones that we have.
Right. Ours is from warm tropical waters.
Exactly. And they all have the same benefits. It's just that some might be more dense than others,
Right.
So they still rich in nutrients and used as a superfood.
Right.
So that's basically what sea moss is. I don't know. Is there anything else we need to?
No, that was all we wanted to talk about today. Let the audience know what is sea moss. We think we did a pretty good all around historical.
Right. Give the historical facts and everything. Right. So in a nutshell, that's what sea moss is, and it has different uses, which, like I said, we're going to get into, and it has a lot of benefits, that we're going to get into later. So again, you have to stay tuned to our channel for the information. Yeah.
Subscribe. Make sure that you don't miss the next best topic that we're talking about with all of our products, not just sea moss. Right. It could be any of them. And we got some more products coming soon. So you definitely got to stay tuned for that.
Exactly. So share the YouTube channel, subscribe, view our videos, and turn the bell on so when we post a new video, you wouldn't miss it. So sometimes we'll try to go live as well and answer questions. So stay tuned. I think that's about it. So, Be on the
There we
lookout.
go.
And we should have a first blog posted with more information about what is sea moss, so you have that information. You can go read
Yes.
it on our website. We're gonna have
Yes,
that up this week.
we're gonna have a lot of blogs coming out too. So we're hitting it hard. So you gotta stay tuned and see what else you can learn about all of our different products.
Nice.
Before we go, eat well,
Live well,
be well,
always.